They're poor.
There was one picture that you sent me. Well, we'll have to overlay it over the video, but there was one picture that you sent me of, I think it was a picture of you, and all I could see, couldn't see the face, but saw the trunk of a guy who was naked from the waist
Oh yeah,
down,
yeah.
and
That's the
his
one.
dick was just hanging
Yeah, yeah.
out.
That's it. That's it. That's the one. That's the one. Well, that's not the norm. I mean, that's not the norm. We
Of
saw two
course,
people
but
like that,
yeah,
but no. What I mean by hygiene is I don't mean what I mean. I don't. I want to be clear. I don't mean people look or smell dirty generally.
yeah,
What I mean is when it comes to food, they're just not observing safe practice.
sure, yeah. But what you're saying is that whole band is shifted down a
It's
little bit.
shifted down.
Yeah,
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 yeah. It's shifted down,
yeah.
especially when it comes to the food.
How
And
about hotels and cleanliness in the hotels?
tolerable. It wasn't so much the cleanliness of the hotel as the condition.
Just not maintained.
Yeah, I mean, there was one in Delhi, which was considered one better hotel, and there was like a massive hole in the ceiling and a hole in the floor that you could stick a body in. And they were like, "Oh, we're doing maintenance, we're doing renovations," but they just left this big gaping hole in the floor.
And rented the room.
And rented the room, yeah. And then we switched room, and the same thing happened in the bathroom. There was a big hole there that we, rats or whatever could have come through. I mean, it was this just big gaping hole.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like they'll leave it half. I found a lot of that there. A lot of buildings have poor maintenance. They all look moldy. All the buildings look moldy and shabby. Like they just let them decay. I mean, they look
Wow.
dilapidated, and it's dirt is. I mean, they're dirty in the sense that they're moldy and poorly maintained. Um, so dirt's an issue, but it's not when you're walking around or something, it's not the main issue that you see. What you see is poor maintenance, dilapidation. I'm telling you, you drive through it and all the buildings look moldy and dark and just, yeah, like they're
Yeah.
falling apart.
Yeah.
A lot of poor maintenance issues. Or you'll walk on the street and Ladakh was a Leh is a pretty clean city. It's quite nice. It's got some nice food. It's very touristy. And there were some alleyways behind the buildings where we would walk to go out to the walking street with big gaping holes that looked almost like Choo-Chee tunnels that
Wow.
you could crawl in. And then, you'd be afraid to walk to step to fall into one of them because they had all sorts of rebar ready, sticking out, waiting to impale you.
Wow.
And I could show that in the video.
Yeah.
Um, and lots of dogs everywhere. If you think there's a lot of soy dogs in Thailand, it ain't got nothing on India.
Yeah. I can imagine.
And they're big. They're big dogs. They're not these little tiny wankers. They're
Yeah.
big dogs. They're not aggressive with people, but they fight with each other all the time.
I gotcha.
And in Leh, where it's touristy, they're well fed until winter because it's up in high elevation, so it gets very
Right.
cold. They get snow up in Leh.
Right.
Yes, they get snow in India at elevation, very cold. We left just in time, and we were told, and then we later verified. When I say we, I mean my friend and I verified through news articles, which I can post, that the dogs have been found eating human remains. So
Ah.
they have attacked children and they've attacked people because they were hungry
Ah.
in the winter, not fed. The restaurants are closed up,
Yeah.
and they've been known to eat people. And
Wow.
they're packs of 20 and 25 dogs, and they're
Wow.
big. So
Wow. Wow. Wow.
yeah, I mean, when I was there, they never got aggressive with me, and I saw one or two crazy dogs that even the other dogs were kind of looking. Literally, the dogs were looking at them like, "What's wrong with this guy?" And they were barking at everything, or barking at people, and barking at dogs, and you could see that the dogs even kind of had this, you know, he's crazy look about him.
Right.
But generally speaking, they weren't chasing people or chasing cars like they do here in Thailand, but they were big and big packs, and you wouldn't want to mess with them.
Yeah. Whew.
Yeah.
Anything
India was an
else?
adventure.
Anything else particular about? And how was like access? Obviously, you needed money. You didn't cart all the money you needed with you, did you?
I brought enough cash. My friend tried to access his bank account. That's a problem.
Okay.
ATMs, for some reason, with foreign bank cards don't work very well. It's very hard to find one that works. Many ATMs had no cash. Even in Delhi, we had some issues, but the, the the northern regions, which are a bit more remote, again like Leh or Dras, very hard to get cash out, and you can't use foreign credit cards. So many places will refuse a foreign credit card. They can't access it. It's got to be something that can be charged in rupees.
Wow.
He had a travel card that he was able to use sometimes,
Gotcha.
usually not.
Yeah.
Regular Visa or MasterCard, for some reason in India, no,
Yeah.
no.
How about, I mean, personal safety, theft, crime? You didn't,
A lot of touts, people that want to talk to you. Oh, hi, how are you? Where are you going? And they seem like real
right,
friendly, but they're kind of leading you to some place you don't really want to be, and maybe want
right.
a commission, or they're
Yeah,
trying to be
we've got
helpful, and
that
they're
here. So,
it's much more there, especially Delhi.
okay.
Way more intense, like constantly.
Wow.
Delhi.
That would annoy me.
That you get out of Delhi, you don't find that.
Yeah.
But Delhi was just constant touts. Hey, how are you? Where are you going? Where are you going? And namaste. And then they want to take you somewhere.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's the same in all the big cities, Mumbai,
We didn't go to
Delhi.
Mumbai. We did a northern
Yeah.
tour.
No, no, I'm just
Um,
saying, I'm wondering if the
but
the touts are in every large city
we didn't
like that.
find it. Jammu, we just stayed overnight. We didn't go anywhere, and that's a fairly big city. We didn't. I didn't find that in any of the Muslim areas or the Ladakhi areas or any other towns outside Delhi.
Yeah.
Safety, I hear mixed comments. If you're a single woman, that you could be pursued or harassed. I know one that said she loved India and missed it. Another one that said there was an incident. Um, so I would be a little bit cautious, perhaps. I as two men there, we had no safety issues. Nobody threatened us. The average person who's not a tout is actually extremely friendly and helpful and sincere and genuine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just watch out for the touts. If people start coming onto the street, hi, where are you from? Where are you going? And you're in Delhi, just ignore them and walk on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's that's a bit like here. So, as far as the people are
Hmm.
concerned, most people are genuine and want to help you. There's a few that see you as a foreigner and just start thinking, how can I get
Yeah,
money from him? But that's not everyone.
there
So,
was some overcharging, scammy stuff, especially in Delhi, but I mean, it's not major,
yeah,
and there's no you never feel intimidated or threatened in any way.
yeah, yeah. So, well, the exchange rate, I don't know how prices are, but I think it's about 80 rupees to the US dollar
Right on.
now.
When we were there, we were getting about 80 rupees to the dollar,
Yeah,
and it was
but I don't know like what is a what does a Coke cost or something like that.
a lot of stuff, food,
Is it
hotels.
relatively inexpensive?
Yo, yeah, food and hotels, even brand name stuff, SIM cards, all very cheap there.
Yeah,
Bike rentals were reasonable. Fuel is fairly cheap. Um, yeah, everything was
yeah. I
quite
think
inexpensive.
India is a small oil producer, so they they're not buying from people, so they could use it for their own country. So yeah, wow. So would you go back to India?
Oh, sometimes I think yes, and sometimes I think no. I guess I would go back to see some cities and towns I haven't seen. I would go back to Leh. Um, Not keen on riding the route we did. The reason we took that route was because India's got some very high elevation in the Himalayas, and you can
Right,
actually get air sickness. You can die from it.
right,
So you could fly into Leh, which is 3,600 meters,
right.
and you can die if you get air sick. Indian people die.
Yeah,
So
sure. Well, basically, what happens is
it's hypoxia.
at that altitude, you don't have enough red blood cells to bring oxygen throughout your body. Your body will try and produce more, but
But it
it can
needs time.
only
It
right.
needs an adjustment.
It's a time
So
thing.
so we rode a longer route, slowly going up with elevation, and my friend still had some symptoms.
Yeah.
Um, and the
E-
symptoms can, they can kill you overnight.
Yeah, even in the US, when people move somewhere from like Los Angeles at sea level up to Denver at, 5,000 feet, 5,500 feet or
Oh,
so.
really? That's not very much.
No, but even then, there's an acclimation period of about 3 to 6 months before you stop feeling tired at the
Ah,
end of the day and everything. So,
wow.
yeah,
Because
there's,
we were riding up at elevations of like 16,000 feet, and
yeah,
you can go up higher. There's places that are
yeah,
pushing 20 in India, but we rode up at areas, and again, there's pictures of that next to markers that show 16,000 feet.
yeah. And I mean, I would go to work in Denver when I had a travel job, and at the end of the day, I was wiped. It's
Oh,
just
yeah, you feel it
you're
right
doing
away.
physical work, and at the end of the day, it's like
End
you
of the
wake up and you go, man, I slept good, but I'm still tired.
end of, end of the day,
Uh,
man, at 3,600 meters, which is
well,
which
yeah,
is about 14, 15,000 feet.
yeah, You're
Uh,
gonna feel it right
oh,
away.
you go up a flight of stairs and you're like out of breath.
Yeah.
I managed to do some serious hiking there, but I was like,
Yeah, I mean you're only what 15, 1600 meters basically from the level of Everest Base
yeah,
Camp.
yeah,
And
you're
even
close.
there they say you have to stay and acclimate for a week or two.
Yeah, and even after you've been there a while, it you still feel it.
Sure.
Sure.
Sure. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, you're at lower Everest levels. Yeah.
What else what other
which you can
burning
see
questions I have
which you can
about
see in some of
Bitcoin?
the GoPro footage we have. It's like a marsh landscape. I mean, there's roads and there's military bases. A lot of the roads have improved because the military funds it and they've been building it
Right.
with it, tensions between China and Pakistan. There's military everywhere and they're fine. They're actually very helpful, big convoys, but they're actually the drivers that drive fairly respectfully.
Yeah.
It's the private car owners, the motorcycle riders, and the truckers. They're insane. They drive fast. The bus drivers too. They don't care. They take unimaginable risks and they're honking all the time. The military guys, orderly and slow because they're
Yeah.
following their code. They're
Yeah.
okay.
What was I gonna say? Any like one of the things you hear about, or at least it's propagated about, is cows in the street and nobody messes with the cows.
Oh
Is
my.
that a real deal?
The part about not messing with the cows depends. You get a few assholes, and there's a few stories there. Never mind cows. Riding in India, you never need to go to a zoo. I've seen things you couldn't possibly imagine. I can count at least 7 species of animals that are on the road, not including you. Okay,
I don't know.
chick,
I've seen some strange ones. So.
cows, buffaloes, yaks, sheep, goats, dogs, cats, chickens, monkeys. Um,
Yeah, I've never seen a monkey on the road.
oh, I've seen plenty. Oh, you've seen them here. I've seen
I've
them
seen,
here. But they,
I've seen lopery. I've
but what
seen,
happened is I've a buffalo. I've actually seen like the cows just lie on the road and people usually don't bother with them. You'll be driving at 80K, 100K, and all of a sudden there's a herd of goats coming at you, or a herd of sheep, or you see cows and chickens and dogs all sharing a pile of garbage as they eat. Um, I've actually had buffaloes charge at me. Those things run fast. You think buffaloes are slow? When they get spooked, they run.
yeah,
So I was riding, and I had two buffalo riding beside me at about 40K, and there were some others in front that somehow got spooked, and they were running against the traffic right at me. And I thought, oh shit, I'm going to collide. I'm going to collide. And then they just crossed over each other, one on, and it was like, wow, wow. I mean, they got spooked and they ran
you don't
right
have
at me,
that on
and
the
then they crossed
GoPro, do you?
over. Instead of splitting and going that way, they crossed over in front of me and just ran beside me. I was like, I mean, and if I'd impact those at that speed, because they're coming at me at 30, 40,
Yeah,
and I'm going at them at 50, 60, that's a 100K collision with a big animal.
yeah,
Bye bye.
yeah.
Um, very, and the stuff we
How did
saw,
Mario die?
oh, they were just
Yeah, in a
animals, dude.
collision with a buffalo.
Oh, and
You
riding,
what?
there were a couple of times we got caught riding at night because sometimes there isn't a place to stop. You can't find a hostel or a hotel somewhere.
Right.
And we're riding, I mean, there's towns, but we're looking online, we don't find something. So we rode at night into Jammu where we had a reservation. And Jammu wasn't the only one. Sinagar was the same. And
How is the cell phone? Cell
oh,
phone.
wait. That's another story in itself.
Yeah.
So we get
That
into,
whole area of Ladakh and that whole north is near the Chinese border, and we also went through Kashmir,
Right.
right? And that's all contested areas, and the normal mobile phone service that a tourist gets doesn't work there. We actually had to do something illegal and get an Indian person to get a special SIM card in his name to let us
Gotcha.
use so we could use Google Maps and have internet and not get
Yeah.
lost.
Yeah.
As a tourist, you will get a normal SIM at Delhi, and as soon as you start getting into these disputed areas, like disputed, I mean they're clearly Indian controlled, but Pakistan has invaded,
Right.
and they're worried about Chinese tensions.
Right.
They don't allow the SIM cards just stop working in those areas completely.
Which is not something that you even hear about.
You don't even
That
hear
there are
about it. It's
Chinese
India.
tensions in that area.
kind of crane or something sticking out from the side of the road. And another thing they do is when they want to block off a lane, let's say they have a shop and they don't want people using that lane because that's the entrance, they'll just put stones on the road everywhere. Even in the Himalayas at night, people will or to mark off that there's an accident or mark some area that you can't pass for whatever reason, they just put little rocks there. And you can hardly see them, right? They're just like a couple of inches high. But of course, you hit that, with a motorcycle, you're going to go flying.
Yeah.
So or this is the entrance to my store. They block off that highway with some rocks.
Right.
Um, no sign, no indication. Just you hit that rock,
Wow.
you're flying. Um, Animals everywhere, all over the place. People walking out the street at will, just not even looking, talking on their phone in the middle. And I'm talking middle of a highway at night, walking everywhere, people crossing everywhere, just willy-nilly anywhere they want,
Wow.
and on the highway at night. And there were some points that were so busy that people didn't want to go in the opposite lane. They just felt that was too much traffic, because I think there was some sort of blockage. I think there was a lot of traffic with a trunk convoy, so they were coming this way. At one point, we were outnumbered going the correct way on the highway by people coming the opposite way. We were on the motorcycles, and we had people coming at us the opposite way, left and right. We're in the middle, opposite at night with no lights.
I just can't even imagine.
And of course, you got people honking at you and everything because they're impatient. People, you're on the Himalayas, and you've got roads that are made just barely to squeeze two big vehicles. And one side is landslide or maybe an alcove with rocks, so the trucks can't get too close because they'll hit it.
Right.
Or you're in a bus. I mean, I've been in a bus and seen like the roof is kind of an alcove that's been dug out, and the rocks are flying by at like 100K. It's like if this guy moves over one more inch, the roof gets peeled off. The roof is going to get peeled off. It's going to get
right
skinned.
Yeah.
Or we're riding on a cliff, and I look down and I see the tire, and this guy's driving at 60, 70K, trying to weave traffic and honking at people, and there's that much clearance before the edge of the cliff, and it's like if this guy just moves an inch, we're going over.
Yeah.
And then
that's insane.
Or you're riding, and because, like I said, there's a rock slide in the cliff and there's no space, you're riding. They don't slow down, man. You're on the bus, and there's another bus or a truck that comes by, and this close. And I can say that because not only have I seen it from the inside of the bus, I've seen it from the motorcycle as vehicles pass, and I'm talking an inch clearance. And they're passing each other on basically off-road conditions, unpaved, 70K, 80K, each in the opposite direction without even stopping. And sometimes you get a Mexican standoff. You got a whole army convoy, rock slide, cliff. There's barely enough room for a vehicle to pass, and they're faced off. And they're honking until finally the one who's not part of the military convoy, because the military has priority, it's their road, they built it. He has to sort of back his truck up right against the cliff. Oh, and they just park wherever. There's trucks parked everywhere you want. Right in the turn, they got hairpin turns everywhere, 90 degree, basically a U-turn. Trucks parked there, cars parked there. Sometimes in the middle of the lane, they don't care. Sometimes a whole convoy parked. They're all decided to park there. So you're already on a narrow road doing a hairpin turn, and there's a bunch of trucks all parked in the turn.
Yeah, I believe it, but it's just unbelievable.
Oh, it's unbelievable. So, like I said, look, I've done Nepal, which was scary enough, and it was scary because the road conditions are bad and you've got heavy traffic, but it's not as erratic. This was Nepal on steroids, HGH, and speed all at once.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, I can tell you're getting stressed. That's how I felt.
I'm just thinking about it because I like having been through bad driving in Saudi Arabia. I can just imagine, and it's
this is beyond anything I've ever seen. I was so anyway. To answer your question, would I go back? Maybe to the south. I'd have to accept that it's like Mumbai and places are going to be filthy and dirty and the same. For a short time, I would. I was there over a month. I don't think I'd want to do that again. I would ride if I can fly into Leh and not get air sickness and ride that area. It's very beautiful.
Right.
The traffic is more manageable. The roads are quite good once you get into those isolated areas because the military has recently made the roads quite nice. It wasn't usually in the past they were basically no roads.
Right.
And people rode. So I rode in actually better conditions. But like Jammu and Manali and Mcleodganj, leaving those areas and it gets very busy. No, I won't do it again. I will never do that route again.
Yeah.
I don't want to die.
Yeah.
No, I won't do it.
All right. Well, we probably should move on to Iran next.
Unless you have any other questions about India.
No, my stomach is upset from the driving discussion and the hotel and
the hotels,
and the food. It's like,
well, the food is tasty. Sometimes not the healthiest, very oily.
Yeah.
It's hard to find good coffee, but tea is quite good
Yeah.
sometimes. They put a lot of milk and sugar in it.
Yeah.
Um,
That's, I think, the British effect. So
it's a
from
little bit
having
too much,
from having been a
but
colony for a while.
if you can get a nice masala chai with not too much sugar, it's good. Um, People friendly. So I mean, I had a lot of negative to say about the driving, but it was a good experience. And um, when you get even if the restaurant's dirty, they may have very tasty food that you won't get hopefully sick from. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll be back in part 2 with Iran.
Like, share, subscribe. It really helps with Al Gore's rhythm.